Hey guys! Today I'm going to be teaching a quick beginner prenatal yoga class. So this class is great if this is one of your first yoga classes you've ever taken, or maybe it's one of your first yoga classes that you've taken in a while. And if that's the case, welcome and welcome back to yoga. We are so happy to have you here. And congrats on the baby. So let's go ahead and get started by finding a comfortable seated position. You can sit directly on the mat, or you can sit on a block or a blanket, whatever feels comfortable for you today. Let's go ahead and place our hands on our knees, and we'll gently close our eyes. And let's start to bring ourselves inward and focus on our breath. So let's take a nice inhale here. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Continue breathing on your own and try to focus on your breath. Focus on the feeling that it has. Breathing the air through your nose and filling up your lungs. And then exhaling it out. Try to let any of your thoughts from the day, any frustrations or excitements, try to let those thoughts fade away. And if you have an intention or a mantra that you would like to use today, go ahead and set that now. Otherwise, I welcome you to use my mantra of the day, which is, I invite peace and patience into my life. I invite peace and patience into my life. And on each breath, maybe you repeat your intention or your mantra, or maybe you just simply focus on breathing. And let's take one more inhale together. And one more exhale. And slowly blink your eyes open. And we'll inhale, reach your arms up and over your head. Take a nice big stretch. Maybe you interlace your fingers and rock from side to side. And then lower down your right hand. And inhale, stretch your left arm up and over your head. Maybe you roll your left shoulder back to open up a nice stretch on your left side body. And then come back to center. Plant your left hand and inhale. Lift your right arm up and over your head. Maybe you roll your shoulders back and breathe into that stretch. Let's come back to center. We'll take our right hand and place it on the left side of the head and gently guide your neck down towards your right shoulder. Breathe into that stretch on the left side of your neck. And then come back to center and we'll switch out our sides. So take your left hand and gently guide your head down to your left shoulder, breathing into that right side of your neck. And we'll come back to center. And now we're going to take a slight, easy twist And we're only gonna twist from the top part of our body, so our shoulders and our neck. And we want to keep our belly facing forward since we have a baby in there and we don't want to compress it. So take your right hand and place it behind you, and take your left hand and it can either be in front of you or on your right knee. And we'll look over to the right side of the room, just twisting slightly with our neck and our shoulders. Inhale to elongate the spine, and exhale, breathe into that gentle twist. One more inhale, and one more exhale. And then come back to center, and we'll take it on the other side. So your left hand comes behind, and your right hand is either in front or on your knee. And we'll look over to the left side of the room. Inhale, elongate your spine. And exhale, breathe into that twist. Inhale and exhale. Come back to center. And now we're going to move into tabletop. So you want to make sure that your wrists are beneath your shoulders, your knees are beneath your hips. We're gonna take a couple of cat-cow poses here. So inhale for cow, lower your stomach towards the ground, roll your shoulders back, and lift your chest to the side of the room. Exhale, push the ground away, arch your spine, tuck your chin into your chest for cat. Inhale back to cow. Exhale to cat. And keep moving like this on your own breath. And maybe you start to incorporate some hip circles in your cat-cow, if that feels good for you. And reverse it the other way. And then come back to neutral. Let's take an inhale here. And on your exhale, we're going to take a downward facing dog. So tuck your toes, slowly lift your hips up. Keep a slight bend in your knees as you push your chest back so that your spine and your shoulders and your arms are elongated. And then maybe you start to straighten out your knees as much as you can, but no need to overdo it. Maybe you pedal out your knees here. That always feels good to me on my first down dog. And then one inhale, lengthen everything out as much as it can go. And on your next exhale, we're going to drop our knees as wide as the mat and bring our big toes to touch and sink our hips down for child's pose. So your hips can come down to your feet, your arms can stretch out a little further in front of you, and maybe your head, your forehead, comes down to the mat. But if that doesn't feel good for you today, this is totally a great position to stay in. Just take one more inhale and one more exhale. And on your next inhale, come back up to tabletop. So from tabletop, we'll take our right leg and place your right foot on the outer edge of your right hand for a low lunge. And you can just breathe into this stretch right here. Your knee is going to be over your ankle. And your foot is a little bit wider than it typically would be, just to give room to the baby. And this is a really great spot for blocks if you have any, if you're feeling a little stiff today and aren't quite as flexible. Blocks are a perfect spot right here. And then we're going to slowly move back. So you're going to just shift your hips backwards and straighten out your front leg. Again, a great spot for blocks. But we're gonna take a half split here. So your foot, you can either move it a little further if that feels good for you. You can sit up straight with your hands on the mat or the block. And you can hinge forward if that feels good as well. You should feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings, maybe in your IT band. And just breathe into that here. On your next inhale, come back up into a low lunge, just for a second. Maybe you remove your blocks and then step your foot back into tabletop position. So from here, we'll tuck our toes and take another downward facing dog. Stay for an inhale and an exhale. One more inhale, and on your next exhale, lower your knees down. Bring your toes together and take a quick child's pose. Come back up to tabletop. And we'll take this on the left side. So take your left leg, place your left foot on the outside of your left hand for a low lunge. And you can stay here, you can use your blocks if that feels good for you today. Just breathe into that stretch. And on your next inhale, bring your hips back, straighten out your front leg. Maybe you move it up a few inches. And then maybe you hinge forward, breathing into your hamstring, breathing into your IT band. And then come back up. Maybe you move your blocks. Come back into tabletop. And then inhale back into downward facing dog. Take one more inhale. One more exhale. And on your next inhale, look up at your hands and tiptoe your feet up to behind your hands and start to roll your spine up into standing. Maybe you bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes and take one nice inhale and exhale. One more inhale and exhale. All right, we're gonna go ahead and come back down into a seated position. And we're just gonna take a seated wide-legged forward fold. So I love forward folds because I feel like it really helps lengthen out the back of my spine, which my back is always tight, so it feels great for me. But once I have a bump, it's much better to do it with your legs wider. So we'll take our legs wide and we'll inhale to a straight spine. And if you have a block, maybe you bring it out in front of you. And we'll just exhale and slowly lower down. And maybe you place your forearms on a block if you have one, or a pillow, or a stack of books. But when we're pregnant, we want to focus less on being super flexible and more on the stability of poses and just how good they feel. So breathe here Breathe into your spine. Send a loving breath to your baby. And make sure you don't go too far down because you don't want to squish sweet baby. And we'll take one more inhale here. And then we'll slowly push ourselves back up. Maybe you remove the block. And we'll bring our feet into Baddha Konasana, or butterfly. So the soles of your feet will touch together. And when you're pregnant, you don't want your feet to be as close to your body. You'll probably put them out a little further away than what you typically would if you weren't pregnant. And here is a great spot. Like if this is where your body is today, this is perfect. If you have two blocks, you can even rest them underneath your knees. And you can stay here, or you can inhale into your spine, lengthen it out, and exhale, fold forward a little bit if that feels good for you. Maybe you bring your hands in front, but again, we don't want to fold too much because we don't want to compress the baby. And we'll take one more inhale. And on our next exhale, push ourselves back up. Remove the blocks if you have them underneath your knees. And then let's just cross our legs again. Maybe cross it in the opposite direction that you had it at the beginning of class. And for our final pose, we'll do another gentle twist. Just notice this time if it feels any different than it did at the beginning of class, and appreciate that. So take your right arm, place it behind you, take your left hand and put it either in front or on your right knee. And remember to keep your belly facing forward and only twist from your shoulders and your neck. All right, we'll come back to center and switch out our sides. Going over to the left side now. Breathing into that stretch. And then come back to center. We're going to go ahead and take a quick shavasana here. So we're going to lay on our left side. So we'll gently lower ourselves down. And if you have a blanket or a pillow accessible, feel free to use that underneath your head. Otherwise, you can just lay with your head on your bicep. But lower yourself down to the mat. You can keep a bend in your knees if that feels good for you. And go ahead and gently close your eyes shut. We always like to end our practice with Shavasana to seal in our yoga practice, to seal in our intentions and our mantras, and to seal in our breath. So let's go ahead and inhale together and exhale. I welcome you to come back to your intention, to your mantra, to my mantra of the day, which is I invite peace and patience into my life. I invite peace and patience into my life. And as we get further along in our pregnancies, We have a lot of worries, some stress, some anxieties, but we also have so much excitement, so much to look forward to, from finding out the gender, to sharing the news with our loved ones, to finally meeting our little bundle of joy. So the peace is to help calm our nerves and calm our worries, to become at peace with our decisions, and to come at peace with the unknown. And the patience is to be patient for all the exciting things to come, but to also be patient with those around us. Our dogs who can sense change coming, they might be acting up. Our toddlers who might be going through sleep regressions or moments of neediness and separation anxiety. Our loved ones and our partners who are so excited and eager to help, but aren't quite sure how. But most importantly, patience with ourselves, giving ourselves grace with that pregnancy brain, being patient with ourselves if we're not hitting our milestones, if we're gaining too much weight or not enough weight. Just being patient and at peace with all aspects of our pregnancy. I invite peace and patience into my life. I invite peace and patience into my life. And I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for as long as you can. I usually like to stay in Shavasana for at least 5 minutes, focusing on my breath, winding down, letting go of anything bothering me. But for the sake of this YouTube video, I invite you to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe you stretch your arm above you, stretch your top leg out in front of you, and then push yourself up slowly, taking your time. Come back up to seated. Close your eyes shut if they opened along the way. And then bring your hands to heart center. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me in this prenatal beginner yoga class. I hope for abundance of joy and blessings into your life. Namaste.